just, that's how I've trained myself, is just, you just jump in and you do it. And the main thing that I got was I read Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, and I just love that book, and that just taught me everything, basically, because all it is just
Recording in progress.
paint what you see.
Okay.
Paint what you see, not what you think you see.
Yeah.
That's it.
A book I would recommend is Dare to Sketch. I've been actually reading it.
Oh,
I
really?
don't normally read these
Yeah,
books,
yeah,
but
yeah.
he's great. He's just like,
Okay,
you know,
good. Yeah, I like drawing too. Drawing's a lot
free.
of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be free about it. It's your painting, your drawing,
Uh-huh.
so just do what you want.
Yeah, I get very inspired. Like I'm doing a project right now on people from mixed ethnic backgrounds. So like my portraits are all going to be people from mixed
That's
race.
awesome.
Yeah, because I actually applied to be a artist in resident at the Richmond Art Center, and I applied for a group show to do one on. The name is very corny right now, but the working title is, instead of identity, it's we-dentity. So it's about well, it's just like, there's so much tribalism. It's, there's us versus them, you're a
Yeah,
Palestinian, you're a
yeah.
Jew, you're and so I just want to like help people, challenge people's ideas that you're not just one person or one identity, you're multiple. You can be a Jew and an atheist. You can be, a farmer and hip hop artist. Like, you don't have to be just one or the other, so it's really about
Oh, I love
challenging people, and then, and mixed race people are just perfect, like literally, a literal example of it, right? You can't split people up and, they're just one person.
And why
identity.
categorize them,
Huh?
right?
Right, yeah, you don't need
You
to
don't have to
categorize.
categorize into
People
one
like,
group.
humans like to do that, right? We like to simplify things so we can understand and feel
Yeah.
like we're in control.
Yeah.
We don't like if you're mixed race, people are always asking, what are you? It's like, I'm a human. Yeah.
So this was.
Okay, are you guys all ready? Yeah, all right.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Tell me what to do.
All right, since Emily is out tonight, Harsh, the floor is yours.
Great. All right. Well, I will call this meeting to order.
Is your mic on?
What's that?
Is your mic on?
Oh, oops. It's been a while. Or at least it feels like it has. All right, let's call this meeting to order, and we will start with the roll call or the land acknowledgement. Which one?
Okay, we'll start with the call to order and the roll call. So, Member Baldwin?
Here.
Member Carlton?
Here.
Member Green?
Here.
Member Shaw?
Here.
Member Wan? And,
Here.
Chair Chen is out tonight.
And with that, we'll move into the land acknowledgement. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated villages of Leestown. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home.
All right, so next we have the approval of minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Yeah. They look good to me.
And if you'd like, I can bring them up if anybody needs to review them. Otherwise, we'll be looking for a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Member Wan?
Aye.
Member Shaw?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Carlton?
Aye.
Member Baldwin?
Aye.
Meeting's passed. Okay. So it looks like public comment. If there's anybody in the audience or anybody in the virtual audience who would like to raise their hand and make a public comment. I'm not seeing anybody in either one of the audiences right now, so give them a minute for some other people to arrive, or a series of seconds. But I think there's nobody else here right now for public comment.
All right, with that, we will move to announcements. If there's any staff announcements or.
So, a few things, just to let people know, we've had some interest on both the foyer gallery and the Murals Arts Project. So, one official submission, and several other inquiries. So, one of the reasons why we wanted to add this to the agenda tonight is to consider making some changes and extending the call for artists submission time. We are holding off on the sculpture loan program right now since we've had some slow activity on these other two call for artists. We might want to agendize that to talk about when would be a good time to implement that. Not sure if it's the best thing to have them all concurrent if we're getting, if we're not getting a lot of movement on applications and submissions. That said, we are ready to move forward. It's just been a really busy period of time for staff, and we've been working a lot on the modification of the website. That's been taking up a lot of my time. So if there are any thoughts about that, I think we can talk about it a little bit under the subcommittee updates, kind of see where we're at.
Later, but I'm wondering if maybe the marketing committee could join together this great list of all these resources.
Sure.
And put the word out.
I think that's a great idea. We'll talk about that during the subcommittees. The other announcement I just wanted to mention to the committee is the council at the last meeting. It was on consent calendar, and so we will do a contract with Jeff Dowling to purchase that one piece of our work to have it permanently installed there on the Greenway. So congratulations, Arts Committee, for getting stuff done.
Yay.
And that concludes my announcements for right now. If anybody else has announcements from committee. Okay. So that brings us to presentations. Brad, maybe you would like to do an introduction for our guests today, and we'll.
Our guest needs no introduction. She's a staple in the Albany community. Coachella. She's organized this fantastic music group, and she recently did Seen&Heard, an art and spoken word show. By the way, other than that, I think really, Eugenie, if you're ready, just go with it.
Yeah, share your screen and come on up to the podium so that the viewing audience will be able to. Actually, this podium would be better.
Which one?
The yeah.
Okay, let's see. Here we go. You guys can see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so I just thought, because Brad invited me to come, and I just thought I could just sort of share the website, because that's kind of explains everything in a pretty simple way. So this is the front of the website, and I'll talk a little bit about how I conceived of the project and how it turned out. The reason I'm here is I know you guys just talked about the foyer art shows and how they're usually individuals, right? But once in a while you might have a group show or something like that. So I'm kind of here to talk a little bit about the possibility of having a group show and having it be sort of the Seen&Heard thing. So anyway, so a little background about myself. So I'm a psychologist, and one of the roles of a psychotherapist or psychologist is to help clients feel seen and heard, right? So it's really about being able to have empathy for people and to be able to help people express themselves in their emotional life. And I've been very recently introduced or started drawing and painting myself. I started drawing in 2022, February 2022, and then in September I started painting, and I had no background or training in it before, but I really took a liking to it. And what happens to me is I just get these ideas that just spark into my head. So Coachella was one. I was just literally walking around the neighborhood during COVID, missing live music, and I was like, oh, well, why can't we have it? Look at all these driveways. Look at all the musicians in Albany. And so Seen&Heard kind of popped into my head in the same way, like I was trying to figure out, combining my interest as a psychotherapist and combining my passion for arts in general, all kinds of arts, performing arts and visual arts. I thought this would be a really great project. So that's kind of how it came up into my mind. And so this very front page you see, in the quiet spaces of authentic witnessing and genuine listening, we find the magic of being seen and heard. So what I wanted to do was to give artists an opportunity to share their artwork, and it would either be visual art of any sort, 2D, 3D art, or it could be spoken word, so it could be some kind of writing that they did. And I wanted them to be able to answer a call for art, where they submit something online, and I found jurors. I found 5 jurors of various disciplines, and they all did it as volunteers. And I knew 4 of them out of 5 because I've been involved in Cazadero Performing Arts camp as well, so I know a lot of musician artists. Anyway, I just gathered these jurors and made up a rubric. And I've only answered 1 call for art in my life. Right? It was at the DeYoung Open. So what is that saying for physician training? See one, do one, teach one. I kind of feel like the same way for me with art. Like, oh, okay, I've seen art in museums. Oh, I can submit art to an exhibit. Oh, I think I'll curate a show now. So that's kind of what I did with Seen&Heard. And what I needed was, I needed a platform. I needed, how am I going to get this done? So I've worked very closely with Doug Donaldson of the Albany Community Foundation, and he's helped me with other events that I've started, like Move and Groove and stuff like that. So I approached him and just applied for a small grant. It was $1,500. And I also know the woman who runs Cass Ceramics, Cass Linden. Her parents, actually, I know them because Noreen teaches a painting class, and so I've been taking painting from her. And then her husband Mitchell plays bass, and I met him through Coachella. So I happen to know her parents. So then I'm like, oh, maybe Cass Ceramics would be willing to install the show. So when I asked her if she would be willing to do it, and I said, and we would give you money for it, because of course, I don't expect her to do it for free. She's running a business. So then $1,000 from that grant, I got $1,500. $1,000 went to Cass's studio to help with installation. So we found a date for the show, and the other $500, it's very, very modest amount of money. The $500 also went to putting up this website, and then I also got a high school intern because I wanted to get youth involved because I want it to be all ages. So I hired a high school intern to help me with, Instagram and things like that I don't know a whole lot about. So she helped me with some publicity. So that's kind of how it got started. And so if you look at this next page, this sort of describes it. So I wanted it to be an inclusive arts project. Like I said, I wanted to invite everybody, and you don't have to call yourself an artist with a capital A. You can be a complete newbie and a beginner, such as myself. And I just wanted to give people an opportunity to express themselves. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do in terms of inviting anybody. And like I said, it would be through the creation of visual or spoken word. I originally wanted it to especially invite people who did not feel seen and heard. So similar to, psychotherapy clients come to psychotherapy because they need to feel seen and heard. Or hungry people come to restaurants because they're hungry. So I wanted it to be people who really needed to be seen and heard. But then, because it's a new project, I couldn't be super picky. I didn't want to narrow the call too much. So then I decided, okay, well, I don't want to narrow it and say it's only for people who, are oppressed or whatever. I want it to just be for anybody who wants to express themselves about something personal. So the theme of it was about presenting artwork that has some kind of personal significance or personal meaning. That's very broad, right? It could be anything. It could be like, I like the color red, so here's my red painting, right? As long as their artist statement described something that helped the jurors understand that this artwork has personal significance to them, that would be sufficient. And then I also wanted to, because all the projects that I do are always about fundraising for the community too. So like Coachella is all about raising money for good causes, and like, you know, the first one we did, we raised $12,000 for the food bank. So I also wanted to, any extra money that was raised would benefit the art projects in Albany, basically. And so when I talked to Doug about it, because my first idea was to have it be for a scholarship for an emerging artist or a student. But I don't know anything about, I don't have a scholarship, you know, I just made this up. And so I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll ask the Rotary Club because they do scholarships. But then Doug said, no, let's just keep it vague, and we'll just, whatever extra money there is, we'll say it's for future art initiatives in Albany. So I'm like, that's fine. So that way we're not committed to anything. So that's what it was for. It was future art initiatives in Albany, which maybe it means like the next time I apply for Seen&Heard, he'll give me some money for it, right? And then I was thinking about maybe selling tickets, but then it ended up not doing that. Like we just had, you know, we provided refreshments and things like that for the art opening, and people came. And it's very much collaborative and community-based, right? So, like I said, I want the artists to come from the community, not necessarily from Albany, but local places. And yeah, so that's kind of what I did. So, stop me if you have any questions too, by the way. Does that describe a little bit kind of where it all started? Okay. So then I had to do a call for art, and I made these guidelines about what kinds of submissions are acceptable, you know, size, and, you know, the spoken word, wanted it to be less than 8 minutes in length. They would have to send in a video of them doing the spoken word. So this is all through portal, through the website. And you can see that the eligibility is really anybody who wants to do it. You don't have to be super experienced. The strictest thing about the Call for Art was really the theme, was that you do have to present something that has personal meaning, right? What did I write here? They have to be original works created in the last 3 years on themes of or topics that are revelatory about the artist, so something where you share something about yourself. And I told the jurors to be pretty strict about it. So there were some people who submitted like really nice paintings or whatever, but in their artist statement, they didn't write a single thing about how it had any connection to them. It was like a nice landscape or whatever. So they did not get into the show, right? Because they did not read the description. And then they could submit up to 2 things. And then the jurors had a rubric, like I said, and then they chose, and then the jurors did all this online too. It was, you know, they didn't have to meet or anything. 2 of the jurors actually are in Los Angeles. And these are the themes: artistic merit, these are the rubric, artistic merit, originality, and adherence to the theme. And then those who got chosen were invited to put their art up at Cast Ceramics, and it was left up for about a month. So that's that, and let me see, and then there's this little portal where you submit, and you pay a submission fee, so it's $20 for up to 2 submissions. And like I said, the money was kept for the Albany Community Foundation. And then here are just some of the jurors I had, so I tried to get a diversity of people. Daniel Clausen is the only person I did not know personally. They were recommended by a drawing teacher that I had. And so this person is a ceramicist and is the artist in residence at place in Sonoma Ceramics. And then this DJ Fuse, he actually probably is the most famous person of all my jurors. He's actually a personal friend of mine. If any of you are, to the 90s hip hop, he was in Digital Underground, and he has platinum records with Tupac Shakur and stuff like that. So that's DJ. So he was I chose him to be sort of part of the spoken word section. And then Cynthia Silverstein is a photographer. She's based in Los Angeles. Joshua Silverstein, not a coincidence, they have the same last name, they are married. Joshua, so I know Cynthia and Joshua from Cazadero Performing Arts Camp, and Joshua is an actor and a writer and also an educator in spoken word and things like that. Now, his funny claim to claim is that he was Meghan Markle's first kiss. That. So, yeah, he actually went on TV and was interviewed about that. And then lastly, Ned Axthelm. He was a painting instructor of mine at the Richmond Art Center, and I really like his work, and he's a really super nice guy, and so he also said yes, he would do. So those are my jurors. And let's see, then I'll show you some pictures of the exhibit. Way here.
Sorry, Jeannie, I don't want to interrupt or
Yeah.
say everything. So will these jurors be the same?
No, not at all. I mean, it's, I just did this, kind of pulled it out of my hat. So, no, I'm just telling you about what I did so you have an idea of kind of what it looks like. But it wouldn't necessarily be the same jurors. But here's what some of the pictures look like of the show. So we had like 64 or 65 visual art pieces that were hung in the gallery. It was very successful, I thought. I was really happy, and the spoken word performances were really great too. These are just a few of the pictures. So you can see this kind of eclectic artwork for paintings and drawings and photography, and these are some of the spoken word artists. The hardest thing about this project, by far, like 10 times harder than anything else, and the second hardest thing, was publicity. Like, getting something from my head into the world, and, where this has never existed before, was really hard, and I had to work probably 10 hours a week, because I did all this project myself. So it was me, and then my intern, who just probably did like an hour of work a week. And then once we got to the installation, Cass and her crew did all the installation. But everything else was just done by me, including the website design, all the publicity, getting the jurors, writing up the rubric, emailing everybody. It was probably 10 to 15 hours of work a week for just me, from starting in, when did I start? I think I started in December, and the art was up in March. So it was, a lot of work. But I thought it was well worth it. It was really interesting. And then the feedback that I got from the people who filled out my survey, when I asked them, what did you like most about the project, they said it was the community. It was the sharing the art in the community, being invited to actually display their art. These are not people who necessarily call themselves artists, although there were people who had, been professional artists as well, who had shown their art in exhibits and who were in magazines and things like that. We have a few professional artists in our community, to my knowledge. And a lot of other people were just people who, like us, just regular people, who happen to like drawing and painting or photography or whatever, and they got to participate in this project. So that's all I really have to say. I mean, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer.
So I didn't see any of my paintings on your website, so.
Sorry.
Anyway, seriously, so the foyer, the Albany foyer has kind of restrictions with what we can show.
Okay.
Which, I think you and I talked about this a little bit, but, there's no nudity, there's no anything too controversial.
Yeah. Rated G.
Very
G.
G. It's very G, yes.
Very G,
So,
okay.
I don't want to say that we would have to curate with you.
Yeah, I would expect.
There would
yeah.
be a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's, I totally understand that, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there were some spoken word pieces that would not have worked.
No, there was definitely one.
Yeah, I mean, the speakers were like, they were told, I said, you should warn the audience that there's, what did I call it? Adult material or something, yeah.
Yes.
And so, and there were still parents who didn't like make their kids go away, so, okay. But yeah, no, I understand. That's understandable.
Personally, I would still love to have that feature, but we probably cannot just do disclaimer and say, you can't have your kids here.
No, it has to be family friendly, yeah. I mean, I've learned some things about this project. Of course, you learn things from the first time you do something, yeah. So I think, there's a few things I learned, and one is, I think I will probably, even if I didn't do it here, I did it elsewhere, I would probably say, the material needs to be family friendly, or, whatever, make more guidelines about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. It's a little bit difficult to do that with art, though, right? Because you don't want to censor people. But then people can choose not to submit. If it's not their thing, they can go somewhere else and do their X-rated art somewhere else or whatever. It's not my problem.
Probably not a big deal, but.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess one of my concerns about doing it in the foyer is, I don't know if you've ever hung art salon style. You know what I mean by salon style? Like very packed in, like not floor to ceiling, but like the way that we did it here, it's a little bit more salon style. It wasn't, the ceilings aren't very high, but you can see that there were 3 paintings stacked one on top of each other. It wasn't just like art that's just right here, right? It's like from here all the way to the ceiling. So that way you can pack more art in. So I don't know if you've ever done that in the foyer, because.
To my knowledge, it hasn't been done like that. It would be very interesting, it'd be kind of exciting to
It would, although I would think that it would need someone to actually, like,
design that.
curate the display.
I mean, the installation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if Cass comes back or someone.
I mean, the thing is that everything, like I said, I did everything myself, except for Cass did the curate, she did the installation.
Yeah.
They're professional, they've had art shows.
Right, someone
So
like that.
I know that I could recruit volunteers, right? So this whole thing is about being community-based and volunteer-run. Nobody is getting paid. The only person that got paid was the intern, got $300. She's a high school kid. But I think there is enough. I think there's enough interest in our community to put on another community art show that I would get people who have experience in installing, who have professional experience, or even like some of the business, like some of the framing shops, they could be sponsors. I don't know. It's all.
Well, actually, the foyer has very specific rules about the hardware that's used.
Yeah, most museums do too.
They're very, very secure, but they do take a lot of work to put onto your pictures.
Yeah. Do you mean more than D-rings? You mean like there's something more specific than that? Yeah.
T-screws.
Okay.
I can send that to you.
Yeah, but I don't think it's anything that, a professional art installer has not seen before.
No, probably not.
Probably pretty normal for like a museum.
And like I said, they're very secure, so.
Yeah, so you will not fall in an earthquake. I see, yeah. Yeah, I think that would be the only way it would work, is if the foyer allowed the salon style. Because otherwise you wouldn't have very much art up. It'd be like paintings, and that wouldn't be very exciting. So we had like 65 things. We also had 3D things, so we had sculptures and things like that on pedestals.
Don't think we could do that.
Well, that's one of the things that I think it would be up for the Arts Committee to discuss. Up until this point, that hasn't happened. They've chosen not to do 3D installations on pedestals. But it doesn't mean that there can't be a specific reason why that wouldn't happen in the future, because it looks like for the Creative Justice Project, that will be a component of part of the show there.
Well, even the public comments for that were three-dimensional. I mean, like,
Right.
she had the,
Exactly, yeah. There will be some modifications going forward for how the 3D elements either get modified for what's actually going to happen, as opposed to what was submitted in the proposal. A few different modifications are working out, but it made me think it would have to kind of follow the same sort of understanding of the space there at the library. I mean, you're well aware of what the traffic is like there, and
sure.
and how a pedestal would be installed and how it'd be featured. But maybe there's a way to do that within, the lobby area of the recreation part, or in the entry area of the library, that it could be a collaborative shared space.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I mean, I think, even with the 3D stuff, I made sure that the artists knew that they they had to submit art that would fit on a 12 by 12 inch pedestal, like nothing huge, right? I
Right.
mean, otherwise it wouldn't fit in the room. So, you know, there were small pieces, and then they used museum wax to keep it so it wouldn't tip over and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, the only thing that I would be concerned about is there's not really any way to anchor directly to the floor. Like, so the pedestals would have to be secure in their own freestanding, and it would have to deal with the logistics of that floor and that space. And and the city doesn't have any pedestals, so that would have to be something to be procured, loaned, built.
Yeah, if it came down to it being that important to have that. I mean, if it's too much of a pain,
Yeah, maybe
too.
it's just 2D.
it could just be 2D, yeah. I mean, like, I'm totally flexible.
Because it seems to me that this could be an extension, if there is another gallery showing, or when there is another gallery showing at CAS, maybe this is an extension or some sort of annex or some sort of extension as a.
I should say, can't do it at CAS anymore.
Yeah, okay.
This is why I'm here.
Oh, yeah, so
So
be
CAS
looking for a
Ceramics,
space.
yeah. They are remodeling right now because they're a ceramic studio and they needed more space for their actual wheels. So their studio, which was only maybe a little bit more than half of the whole space, they need to make that like 3/4 of the space. So now the gallery is very small. And
How does that compare in size to what the community center offers? Would you say it's roughly equivalent? in
Which
term-
one?
Well, between what you did here at CAS and what the community center has. I mean, obviously, there's taller ceilings.
I don't know where you would put it in the community center because I'm only familiar with that foyer area.
Yeah, that would be the,
Yeah, and so CAS was bigger. It was 40 feet, like 2 40-foot-long walls,
yeah,
less space.
It's much bigger.
yeah.
It was way bigger.
And I think the community center is probably something like 25 by 25,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now you can
And-
see this from this picture.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
The foyer is taller,
Okay, well, then you could have bigger,
stacking.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, don't you also have like back hallways where you have?
there are,
there?
and,
So you
and
could have things there too.
we don't have the same sort of mounting infrastructure on those walls, but it doesn't mean that that can't be something the Arts Committee looks at, right? I think that there, you know, in having conversations with the Recreation Department, there may be a way for us to address that and have, and I was also thinking, in addition, the senior center is another location that's open to the public that has some gallery space. Whether or not it would be an appropriate venue, I'm not sure, but I think the idea of introducing art to the community in this type of fashion would, you know, be appropriate for these different
Yeah,
types of
that's a
community
nice
centers.
idea too. Yeah, yeah.
Or even theme specific, you know, maybe there are some themes that would connect to the populations of either of those, you know, you know,
Yeah, I mean, and Seen&Heard is you know, it's really open, right? I mean, like I said, make art that's personal. Well, like, how hard is that, right? I mean, unless you purposely divorce yourself from your feelings and, you know, do AI art or something like that, which I would not allow. It can be catered, you know, it can be morphed into something else. Right, I was telling Brad before this meeting that I applied for a group show at the Richmond Art Center, and I want to do it on, the working title is We Dentity, which is really corny, but, so it has to do with challenging people to think beyond this very pigeonholed identity. Like, I am Chinese American, I am, you know, Jewish, I am this, I'm that, you know, and it's just having people see that people are composed of multiple identities, so it's called We Identity. And so I want to curate a show there that invites artists to explore multiple identities within ourselves in order to break down the whole like extreme pigeonholing of who we are, us versus them. So, you know, but my point is that Seen&Heard could also be changed slightly to something else, you know, but it can still be called Seen&Heard because it's all about expressing something about yourself, right? Something that's personal.
So are we only hosting like the paintings portion and not really like the spoken exhibition?
So that's what, the other thing I was gonna ask is, I know there's the large room where people rent space and stuff like that. So I was thinking it would be fun if we had a spoken word piece as well. And then you could have refreshments and people could, it could be a, you know, an event. People could come and, you know, hear the art, the spoken word folks and enjoy refreshments and, you know, we could have it catered or whatever. So that, just make it more of an event, not just a one-time, because, you know, like we did that's here, right? The gallery pieces were up for a month, but we had one evening where we had the spoken word and the art reception, and it was a party, you know, everyone came and celebrated the art, and that was, I would like to have the spoken word piece too.
I would see it very similar to that. You know, the opening reception would be the spoken word.
Yeah. It's like the show, yeah. Yeah. Would you see doing it in that large room? Yeah.
That room books up pretty far out in advance, so with some planning, I'm pretty certain that it would be easy. It's a little bit more challenging on the weekends, on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays when it's open for rentals, but I'm sure that we could find a way to create an event that.
Yeah.
The hall, yes, yes.
When people rent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I assume you're flexible with timing. I mean, we
Oh, yeah. As long as it's not happening in like 3 months, you know, if it's like pushed out
no, it won't.
6 months to a year at least, you know.
Yeah,
A year in advance is good, actually, because it did take, well, the first time it, you know, it took me 4 or 5 months of heavy-duty planning, but the first time you do something, it's always the hardest.
The gallery is currently booked out through the end of the year. So,
The end of December?
Yeah, 2024,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to do it in, so when I did it this time, I wanted to do it in like the cold winter months because it's kind of depressing. And there's, you know, people, you know, you want to be indoors because it's raining. So that's kind of why I picked that time. It was going to be actually sooner than March 18th, the reception. But thank goodness I pushed it back a little bit. So yeah, sometime in the February, March time would be ideal. Maybe. Or later. I mean, that would be the soonest.
we can chat about that.
Yeah.
So there will be a couple things that the committee probably will just need to look at anyways. Obviously, the committee needs to look at the foyer gallery just in general. There are some things that we don't have available to the public, like dimensions, right? You know, we may want to provide dimensions and some real detail on exactly the mounting hardware. I think that'll be content that'll be relevant to be featured on the website. And also any of these sort of modifications to what has been an existing policy of only solo artist shows. Perhaps there is the committee needs to take a look at the general description and figuring out, and there may be, maybe at a subsequent meeting, look at creating a subcommittee to work on that specifically, looking at the text, the description, to accommodate or be a little bit more flexible for group shows and different types of collaborative projects that are more inclusive to the community as opposed to just, and that'd be a question for the committee to discuss. Because up until now, I think it's been primarily solo shows, solo artists.
Yeah.
I think at least the last 3 times we've talked, group shows have always come up.
Yeah.
We talked about the high school shows, and just this would be a group show.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, at one point, it's like, I don't even know where this rule came from. So it's like, it's up to us to decide.
I think the other thing I would do differently this time around is I would work in a committee. Because doing everything myself, it was very exhausting. I mean, I did Move and Groove. It was just me and Steve Trutain doing the entire project for 2 years, and I got shingles as a result. It was not worth it. And so it's too much to put on a citywide project with one person. It's just too much. So I would recruit other volunteers to help me from the art community, you know, from our Albany art community. So I anticipate maybe having like 3 or 4 people together working on this.
Volunteers or paid people?
I mean, volunteers. I didn't get paid. I mean, nobody gets paid. I mean, I'm trying to raise money. I don't want to be paid. You know, I want this to be I want the Albany arts community to be a beneficiary of this project. Yeah. So I may, you know, have to think about applying for another grant through the Albany Community Foundation, hopefully before Doug Donaldson moves to New Hampshire, because he's moving.
I mean, but don't we have, like, would be a topic for a future meeting?
Yeah, the small projects funds.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Seems like something that would
Yeah.
be appropriate. I
Yeah.
don't think that there's a specific application process for that is detailed anywhere. But I can talk with Isabel and see where that is exactly, because there is funding for small projects to be in support of.
Oh, I see, like small grants
Yeah.
to help with like, hiring someone to do the installation or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it does cost money. I mean, my
Yeah,
time
for
is free,
sure.
but it, you know, it does cost money with, like, I bought gifts for the jurors and things like that. And, you know, buying food for the reception, we spent a few $100s.
So there's a couple of ways that the committee would look at this, either as making a modification to the existing foyer gallery program, or looking at this as a standalone collaborative, for lack of a better word, sponsoring or supporting another program, and then in the terms of that agreement, making space available at the community center, either for an event in kind, so no fees or limited fees for rental or covering the cost of the space, and then supporting the program as either a sponsor or in a similar fashion of just awarding a grant award. The committee would have to decide what sort of application criteria would need to happen and whether or not it needs to go to the public, or if it's just supporting a specific program that has come to the Arts Committee. There's a few things that we need to look at in terms of doing that, but in my estimation, there are a few people who, I mean, Eugenia's already been working with the city on a variety of other projects over the years, kind of a known entity, and creating something that's a benefit to the community seems like an easy way to move forward with something that provides a service to the community.
Yeah, I would also be happy to, you know, like, I know Brad, so Brad, if you were interested in serving on the committee of Seen&Heard, you know, somebody on the Arts Committee could be a part of that too.
Yeah, one of the things you just have to be wary of is, as an advisory body, advisory bodies don't create programs or manage events and activities. So it would be, have to be a line between supporting an organization doing something and participating in implementing that. So there's just a fine line in terms of what the roles of the advisory bodies are, but I think certainly being able to support something, making the space for it and helping, doesn't mean that people can't be involved in a volunteer capacity, but you certainly, the Arts Committee itself doesn't create events.
Right, yeah. Yeah, like when I did Move and Groove with Steve, even though we did all the work ourselves, I was in close communication with Danielle Brownlee, because she was helping us like make sure that the street barricades were dropped off and Public Works was involved, but she was like a point person, but she didn't do any of the actual work. She was just like a contact person.
Yeah, exactly, and it'd be something very similar like this, and whether or not the recreation department would be involved, or figure out exactly how, but there is a way, and it's good to be able to kind of make this, especially if we're looking at something, you know, 6 to 9 months to a year from now. I think there's plenty of time to be able to put together,
Yeah.
you know, all.
9 months to a year is actually
Yeah.
is good. Yeah, I mean, because if I get this other group project at the Richmond Arts Center, that'll be extremely busy, curating 2 shows.
So,
That's okay.
so if there's no other questions, we probably should open this up for public comment. Though I only see one member in the virtual audience. Is everybody ready for? We can allow anybody who's in the audience to raise their hand in the Zoom function, and we can bring you up for public comment. And if not, then I'll bring it back to the committee for any further discussion.
I just want to say that this is it's a very cool project, and you know, I think historically the way I've thought about the foyer gallery is that you know, people might, it just raises the threshold when people want to apply, and so this feels like this really nice bridge for, as you noted, anyone who's sort of interested in art and being able to display their own work proudly. So
Yeah.
very inclusive and a great initiative. So thank you for showing us more about it
Sure.
and talking us through it.
I should also mention there were children who participated too,
It's great.
which is great. Yeah, they were like, I think the youngest person was 8 or 9. She was very proud.
She was very good.
She was really good. Yeah, I was shocked that she was that young. Yeah. Yep.
Yes, it's great. I think we might open up a little discussion about the foyer, you know, the rules and whatever we have going. Do we need these rules? Because I think group projects are open. Maybe people like to see group projects, something different.
Yeah, what I like about group projects is it really invites everybody in. So everybody has an interest, right? If it's just one artist, then, you know, people can look at it and go, oh, that's nice. But if your art is on the wall, or your friend's art is on the wall, there's like a special interest, right? And so that's what I noticed about this project was people invited their friends and family, and it was just a good feeling, right? You were there. Like, it was just a cool feeling of people gathering and supporting one another. People going like, I didn't know you sculpted. Like, that is so cool. You know, like discovering things about people, about their artistic side that they would never have shown anyone before, because that's not what they do typically, right?
I do have a question. Were the works available for sale, or were they not?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. So Cass was really cool, and she just said, as long as my staff, as long as we don't have to do anything, 100% of whatever the artists are selling can go to them. Because usually when you go to a gallery, they take like, whatever, 40% or a big cut. And so the way we did it was, I just printed out, I asked the artists, do you want to sell your art, and if so, how much? And then we put little stickers. So green sticker meant it was for sale on the art, and then if it was sold, it would be replaced with a red sticker. And then there was a sheet of paper that listed all the artworks for sale, and it had the artist's contact information. So then it would be up to the buyer to contact the artist, and then they would negotiate everything. They would, like, no money would exchange hands at Cast Ceramics. It would all be, because everything needed to be left up to the end of the show anyway. So then people would, you know, buy whatever they wanted to directly from the artist. So it was very easy.
I believe that was the same with the foyer. Several people have sold items, but it's in between them and the buyer.
Yeah.
Foyer does nothing.
Yeah, it's easier that way.
Yeah, another question. Were you able to get any press out of this, or any of the local news or
I didn't try.
write-ups, or okay.
No, that would have been like just another thing for me to do. Yeah, 'cause I had my hands full. Yeah.
Because one of the other things that the city would be able to do is certainly share the information, web flyers, text promotion through all of the city channels, city social media.
Yeah, I mean, I use the e-newsletter to try to get, to get people to apply to the call. But of course, like I said, the hardest thing was publicity. So I basically emailed everybody I knew who had any hand in arts, organizations, art community centers, like Studio One in Oakland and Richmond Art Center and other arts councils, and just everybody I could think of. Every Facebook group, joined, made an Instagram account, and, became Instagram friends, or whatever they call it, followers with random people, So yeah, it was definitely a lot of work to get the word out there. So whatever the city could do would be great, yeah.
I think we're going to get Jeremy in front of all the news programs to as our spokesperson.
Yeah.
At the ready.
Yeah, that's kind of bridging to our marketing group. Should we put together a great list and Melanie, I'm sure you'll do that too, of resources that we can get all this information out to.
Sorry, say that again? It's a resource list about what?
We have an email list that we'll talk about a little later in the subcommittee updates, but just a kind of resource to help get the word out to different people around the Bay Area.
For a call for art? For that? Oh, I see. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, like universities, colleges.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Right. Getting the names of the people is most important, right? I mean, you can just look up the website and anybody could email, but why would they answer me? Like, they don't know who I am. So if you have a contact, that's super helpful. Yeah.
Does the committee have any other questions, or? Eugenia, thank you so much for coming and
You're welcome.
sharing.
Yeah.
Really appreciate this and this really great information.
Yeah, just let me know whatever next steps are, if there are any next steps.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a few things that the committee needs to look at and then figure out exactly how to make the connections. But Brad, I figured the two of you can stay in touch and
Yeah,
then, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. But thank you, this was really good to hear.
By the way, I'll be submitting something to the foyer art project.
Yeah, oh, great.
But since your deadline isn't until August or something,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
why would anyone submit in April if they can wait until August?
Oh, because you're submitting, right?
Huh?
You're submitting something for a
Yeah,
solo
but
show?
I'll just wait until I have even more artwork to
Yeah.
submit. So I'll submit in August.
Yeah,
Deadline.
I think that's what everybody does, yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So next on our agenda for tonight is 6-1, extension of the deadline for the Albany Murals Project. Right now it's May 20th, I believe, so we don't need to vote on this, but we should have a discussion for how much longer should it go? Should it go through June to July to August? I think 1 month. 1 month?
We have one application right now.
We have one, yeah. And microphone, too, please. Yeah.
Marsh and I made a piece to send out, so I mean.
I saw that, sorry, it
It
was a
could go
little
out
bit too late to.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if, maybe we just share it right now.
Sure, would you like me to bring it up? Here, give me a second.
Yeah.
Is this something that we could like blast out to like all the contacts that we have?
One is not good. I mean, maybe it's an exceptional application of one, but I think choice is a good thing.
It's pretty good. We won't be able to share everything with the committee until they all come in, until it's closed, but, you know, I got eyes on it, and I took a peek. I didn't read it too in-depth, but good prospect.
And I know someone that just heard about it through the weekly email this week, because she was out of town, and she sent it on to people. So I think if we extended it for another month, I mean, don't you think?
Yeah, I just think we have to be
Yeah.
aggressive about
Yeah.
our marketing
But that,
push.
right now, it would be 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, like, if it goes on too long, people are gonna stop looking at it.
So it'll be summer, people might be
Yeah.
traveling.
I think a month is good. I
Yeah.
mean, we kind of have everything rolling or like prepared to roll, so I think we're good.
The only, because I saw this, but I didn't see it before the agenda went on. The only, what I do like about this is the theme, the compensation deadline is important. I don't think that's something that's been shared in the marketing. The only thing is whether or not, and this is something I'll have to check with, you know, Isabel, we're doing a real specific focus on branding, color scheme, city iconography, logos, fonts, that kind of stuff. And this is not that, although So if it was gonna come from the city, it would need to have all of those other elements, which either I would share with you, or we would just kind of merge this into the existing design that we had with this information, or you as individual committee members can just go and share this, you know, and direct everybody back to the website. So that's, because I don't think that we have any real restrictions for you creating something to support the effort on your own, to your own personal networks. However, if we were going to share it from the city's point of view, we would probably need to make some design changes to kind of keep it in line with all this. But the information, the call, and you saw the call for murals that we already have. I could simply just add those other little bits of information, and we change that one that is already sort of the not that there's a real specific design or theme for that particular artwork, but we could do something, merge them together, if you have any thoughts about that.
It sounds like the simplest approach might be for us to add more details to the existing channels, but also for us on the committee to send it off.
It would probably honestly be faster.
Yeah.
If you just, you know, and then the only, and especially if it's to people that you know, right? And it's just linking them back to the website. I think that would be perfectly fine. Otherwise, it would have to go, you know, as soon as we start putting like a city seal on it, making it official, right? Yeah.
And couldn't, like, what if we just sent it from an email called Albany Murals Project?
You certainly could do that.
Okay, well, then that's the, if we could get the list, yeah.
Yeah.
We could also send it from our private emails.
Correct.
To, yeah.
Yeah, but.
The one thing that you would have to be, you know, you would have to look out for is communications amongst members of the Arts Committee outside of a publicly noticed meeting. So if you were going to create a separate email account, you wouldn't want to be emailing communications with anybody other than your subcommittee members in conversations about Arts Committee business.
Oh, right, it would just be only for this.
Only for that, and only for the specific people who were, so you certainly couldn't manage group communications in another email address about this with the other members of the committee. Yeah.
Sharing this,
But I think,
fine, right?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, and Harsh, if you wanted to share this directly with people, yeah. But I think one of the important things too is, and I don't recall whether or not we featured the specific compensation in any of the other details that were there.
I mean, we just felt like putting it front and center is gonna get people to look at it.
Agreed, yeah.
I don't love capitalism, but
Yeah.
that's just the truth.
Yeah, that's, look at it. Yeah, right. And I believe that I probably should make that same modification to the website to list, you know, what that artist compensation is, so that that is clear within, because I was looking back, I was like, oh, we didn't specifically call out the amount of money that this is, the compensation for this amount of work, potentially.
So it sounds like, yeah, so it sounds like there's kind of two paths, which is Jeremy's gonna add more details to the existing channels that you have.
Yeah.
You support, and then.
And then we're looking at, for this, so an extension to, do we have a date in mind?
Maybe we just do it to June 30th.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It will probably be a Thursday in order to manage submissions. So it comes at probably a Thursday at 4 p.m. towards the end of June. That way there's that Friday day to process anything that needs to happen.
Should we do June 27th, 4
Yeah.
p.m.? How does that?
Yeah, June 27th.
I like the idea of like the
And then-
27th. It sounds
Yeah.
official.
It's the day after my birthday too, so.
Oh, perfect.
So then you don't have to worry about it on your birthday.
Yeah.
And then Then it also gives us another round of promotion to advertise that it's been extended. So a little bit something more to say in the marketing.
And then one question I have is, I know historically for other projects on the Arts Committee, when we get to the process of sort of narrowing applicants down, sometimes, you know, it can be done within the committee, but sometimes we need to have maybe like an ad hoc
Yeah, we have an
committee formed.
ad hoc committee or a special meeting.
Yep.
In order to go through that, and I'll discuss with Isabel, because I think that was a little, some of those details of exactly how we're going to assemble the panel, decide how to assemble the panel, those are all things that will need to happen in fairly short order after the close of that, or if not before.
Yeah, because looking at the timeline, notification of the finalists is supposed to go out July 2024.
Right. So that might need to get pushed back a little bit too.
It would push, extending the deadline for submissions would mean we'd push out the whole timeline, so.
Potentially. Let me talk with Isabel a little bit and figure out, you know, if there's any legal requirements for why it should be one way or the other, or if everybody can hustle, can we maintain the same timeline?
And maybe, yeah, as part of the question I have about the process is at what point, do we need a special committee or ad hoc committee, if that's the right name, at all throughout the process? And if so, when? Is it during the notification of the finalists, and then we receive the finalist proposals, and then we do there's a final selection process, right? There's sort of these two phases of selection, narrowing it down to the finalist, and then, you know, voting on the finalists. So it's not clear to me when we might.
Yeah, let me see if I can get some clarity
Okay.
and report back. We'll look at that process to see, because as I understand it, by the way we simplified some of the process, it will be the committee looking at the applications and deciding on one person to do a full proposal and presentation, as opposed to receiving multiple presentations and then selecting from there. So it may be a little bit easier. It may be able to do this at a special arts committee meeting where the committee is reviewing the applications and making a decision. But looking at the time frame, especially knowing that in September you'll be looking at foyer gallery applicants, this one might do this before that, which would mean the July meeting or a special meeting, because there isn't a meeting in August. And I don't think you want to wait until October to come at this, so we might need to look at potentially a special meeting, especially if we need to look at some modifications to the June meeting, because it seems like that could be something that could be discussed at that point.
Yep, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so it sounds like, just make sure I understood, you'll chat with Isabel about when or how we might need to involve a special committee.
Yes.
And Deirdre and I will just wait to hear back whether we need to start assembling a special committee. Sounds like a Marvel movie or something.
Yeah, the question will be assembling whether or not the Arts Committee will make the decision, or we'll be bringing in verified artist experts to make the decision. And that's something that the Arts Committee can decide. I mean, if the committee feels like you can make the decision, you know, on your own as a committee, that would be okay. It's really up to the committee to decide.
Okay.
Or if you want to, you know, bring in a panel of experts and then come up with that process for them, that would be up to the committee too. I don't.
Probably say we're probably comfortable making a call on the committee.
Yeah.
But for the creative justice, so then they clearly decided to bring in a panel of not experts.
Community,
Panel.
yeah, including community members. So
Okay.
that may be something that you'd want to, if you're going to create a special subcommittee to look at this, you may want to come up with a way for the community to be involved in terms of looking or providing feedback.
Yeah.
And maybe that is in the public display of the artwork at the community center when it's presented to the community, receiving that feedback. That could be the appropriate time.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay. Do we need to do anything else for the deadline, or is that?
No.
Okay.
I think I've got enough information that that I'll be able to do that. Looking for let's see.
And then I will update the flyer on our side, which we
Okay.
can email out. They've already done. Yeah, I can send that. Or I can have Jeremy send it to everyone. Is that
Yeah. So I'll after the meeting, I'll reshare it to everyone.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
And then I think you said we're not allowed to look at the application that's come in thus
I
far.
don't think so. I don't think I can do preview shares until everybody's it's been received, and then it needs to be shared with the committee in a public meeting.
Yep, got it, okay.
I assume that's the same for the foyer gallery?
Same, correct. Yeah. Okay. So I think we should open this up for public comment, for any comments on the murals project deadline extension. Not seeing anybody here, and nobody in the virtual audience has raised their hand. Any further discussion? Okay, the next thing that we had on the agenda is to agendize a discussion of the Poet Laureate program. I can go ahead and give a brief overview. And Harsh, probably maybe you would be able to provide a little bit of background information, because I think the last time the Poet Laureate came before the committee, I think you were on the committee. And I'm not sure for exactly how long that the Poet Laureate position has been, but it's been several years, at least 10 or 15 years. I remember the Poet Laureate may have been introduced right around the time of the first dinner with Albany at the Centennial in 2008. It might have been a little bit before that. But there's been a couple of Poet Laureates for the city of Albany. And let me share my screen. This was what was featured on the website. I was thinking whether I put together a presentation, but in the interest of time, this is the page that is on the city website, but it's currently hidden because we don't currently have a Poet Laureate program. It's not on the Arts Committee's plan right now. Opted to focus, when we did the PAPP, opted to focus on the Heron sculpture, the sculpture loan program, the Murals Project, and small grants, and what was the other one? Well, when we looked at this, the Arts Committee did not consider having this be one of the components that you're working on at this particular time. Doesn't mean that it can't come back, but from what I understand, the last request for submissions, there was only one submission, and it wasn't to the committee decided not to pursue it. I'm not sure. Maybe, Harsh, you could speak a little bit to what the deliberation was about that.
Yeah, I think it was essentially that the application just didn't meet the threshold that I think that we had in mind, which is someone that had even a semi-professional body of work relating to poetry. It comes down to like any other project where we had this program in mind, but if we didn't get an application that felt like it met the threshold, then we decided not to move forward.
So this whole discussion, I don't even know where they came from, found the information. One of the things I realized is even though, and that's one of the issues that we've had with this current website, is that when you, even if things are removed from the public viewing of the website, and even if they are hidden, and even if you've checked the box that they should not be searchable, they still are. And that's come up on several occasions for a variety of different things. One of the reasons why we're shifting to a different website platform. But so I was able to access simply by typing in the search bar Albany's Poet Laureate. So it's not really a surprise that somebody was able to find something, even if it's not currently featured on the website. This information is probably back from probably 2021, 2022. But I brought this up because this actually gives a pretty good description, and since it's hidden from the website, you can't easily, as Arts Committee members, go and look at it. Although you could just go to our website and type in Albany Poet Laureate, and you'll be able to find one of these pages. But essentially, it's an honorary position given to a local writer. And I think the expectation, at least what was here, is 3 new poems per year. These were things that were decided by the Arts Committee. And then they would be presented in public at one of the events. 4th of July, Memorial Day, Dinner with Albany. Some of those, since the pandemic, what Albany is doing in terms of events has changed. There currently is plans for another Dinner with Albany. It might be Albany Expo, 4th of July. Maybe these are service-related types of poems. It's kind of a different, we're kind of in a different time right now. We might want to look, if you were going to consider bringing this back, maybe there is something that is more connected to now and what is appropriate for now. There was holding youth poetry events, public readings, doing some work in conjunction with the library. And then the appointment was for 2 years with a nominal stipend. I think the stipend, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was something like $1,000, yeah. So if this is something that the committee would like to pursue and bring back, it wouldn't be hard to bring it back, but one, the committee would need to propose some updates to the program. Stipend, requirements, there would have to be, well, first before a call, it would have to go back before council, and then the work plan / PAPP would need to be modified in order to assign a dollar amount from what was essentially the small projects fund to the Poet Laureate program, and then the committee would begin work on that, likely a subcommittee that would be created. So it'd be a few months out before something could happen, but if it's something the committee wants to see happen, you could vote on it tonight and say, yeah, we want to kind of put this in action, and I'll bring back some information, and then at a future agenda, a future meeting, be able to look at the program, retool it. You could also, so another option would be to create a subcommittee for the Poet Laureate now, and then the subcommittee could do that preliminary work and make a determination, bring it back and report to the committee. But there's 5 of you, here, and it looks like chair will be leaving in a couple months, and you need to get some new members. Maybe your workload is sufficient for right now, and maybe this is something to come back, in the fall or next year. So those are the things that you certainly could discuss during this time to figure out what makes the most sense to the committee.
I think it's it's another thing that we can do to kind of enrich our community. And other than the workload, I see no real downside.
I can't argue with that. I'm not a poet, so I really don't It sounds like another thing that we could do, like what you just said, that we could do to like enrich the community, to use your exact words.
I love the idea of a poet laureate, but I'm just very concerned about the workload since we have so many projects going on at the moment. And like in the beginning, you said that there may be a hold on the sculpture loan project as well because of how many, is that right?
There's two call for artists out right now, and we haven't got a lot of response, which means we'll need to extend that. If we were to launch another one, that would be 3 that are happening simultaneously. Maybe there is some benefit to having multiple call for artists, but if multiple call for artists are out and we're not attracting people, the amount of, it's not a lot of work to put that all together, but it takes a certain amount of effort on staff's times to put it out there, and then eventually we'll need to receive all of those and then figure out what to do with them. Right. But it's something that it's not because of the call for artists, the workload. There's just, there's a renovation that began here at City Hall. There's a website and rebranding things. There's always going to be other things that city staff are working on, and I don't know if there's with a small staff that the city has, I don't think there's ever going to be a time where there's like an abundance of extra time to be able to manage other things. So this is just kind of how it is. We'll make it happen. But that was one of the things that Isabel and I were talking about. If we have these 2 open call for artists, maybe it'd be better to get those through and completed before we launch something else. But if the committee has strong feelings one way or the other, we're certainly open to hearing them.
And I mean, the concern is that like we wouldn't have enough interest for the poet laureate. Yeah, and it was discontinued in the first place because there wasn't enough interest. So like, and we have so many things going on at once that we might not have time to work on this one. But
We do have a marketing subcommittee now to help with that.
Yeah.
And because
It's true.
school year is ending soon, I will have a lot more time at least, and I could work on this on my own time as well.
alternatively, we could like put it off for a bit until we get things rolling, until we figure out like a system for our marketing, and then,
Well, and also maybe until we have a full committee.
yeah.
I mean, we're going to only be
Yeah.
us.
To be honest, I don't have time to work on poet laureate. I don't even know what that means. So I'd be out on that.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it at all.
Yeah, because you need to consider what all of your existing availability is outside of the time of this meeting in terms of putting something like that together, whether or not that's, reading, research, recruitment. Maybe time would be better spent getting a couple more people on the Arts Committee, and then assigning that subcommittee to the 2 new people.
Yeah, just from a timeline perspective, we're now about halfway through this year, which means we are about 75% through our tenure on the Arts Committee. And so I guess from my personal view, I guess I like the idea behind more wood behind fewer arrows, and just sort of focusing our efforts. I think that, for example, from a murals perspective, we probably have not done a great job, I mean, collectively as a committee, about marketing the project. I'm not pointing to any specific subcommittee about that. And so I'm like, yeah, how do we do more there? We also have the other block that's been poured for the sculpture loan program that hasn't had any movement.
Sort of maybe focus on what we got going right now.
And what we had told city council that we'd be working on as well, versus, yeah, sort of spreading our attention to newer things. And unless someone has just came onto the committee because they felt so passionately about the Poet Laureate program, I'm not that person, but if someone did come on and feel strongly and thinks it's worth investing there above everything else, then I think it's a reasonable conversation. If not,
Can we
that's
just
my view.
put it on the back burner and
Sure, yeah, we can.
we don't have to decide right now, right?
No, but this was the time to be, we couldn't discuss it at the last meeting because it wasn't on the agenda. It certainly could be something that could be brought back to the committee again, but I think a couple good points have been made. You know, there is not, the committee isn't fully staffed right now, or appointed with members. Also, like Harsha said, you know, getting a little bit more momentum on these existing projects first before starting on something new that would distract from the limited time that you all have. And perhaps putting all of that extra effort and that time into reaching out to the other places where people might want to find out about this really great murals program and submit some great applications, making sure that that happens.
I totally agree. I think we should focus on the mural and gallery.
It also could be something for the next iteration of the Arts Committee that will happen after December. Yeah, so working through here, and it could be something that I think that there's going to be a process to make some, I can't remember if this was or if this is just in my imagination, where this Arts Committee will give some detailed instructions for whatever the next iteration is, to continue the work load from this one to whoever is appointed in the next round. Could be all of you exactly the same, so, except for the people who.
Firing us?
So with that, there is no action that the committee needs to take. We should open it up for public comment. If there's anybody who has public comment on item 6.2, the Albany Poet Laureate program, in our virtual audience, please raise your hand. And I don't see any hands raised, so. Any other, okay. So the next item that we put on here is a possible date change for the June Arts Committee meeting. The reason I brought this here is I am going to be out of town for a family event that particular weekend that will take me, I won't be able to return until after Monday, June 10th. Also, Chair Chen has said that she will not be able to attend because that is, she will be out of town. There would still be a quorum. I could arrange for somebody to staff the meeting in my absence if you wanted to keep the June 10th event date. The other option in looking at the calendar is farther off in June. If we wanted to reschedule in terms of open time in this room, the soonest date that we could reschedule would be Tuesday, June 25th, which could be good or bad because it puts you closer to the July meeting. So if there are any things that needed to happen back to back with some focused attention, that could be good. If there wasn't anything urgent that needed to be discussed, the meeting also could be canceled and then come back to it. But it seems to me that there's a number of things that the committee wants to talk about in person. So those are the options, and the committee can discuss what it would like to do. But I have made arrangements, so if we needed to have somebody else staff the meeting so that it could happen, that certainly is possible, whether it's Anne or Joy or possibly even Keenan. We could work something out.
What number is quorum, because I'll be out of town as well?
4.
Okay.
Let's just move it.
I think we should just move it.
So if you wanted to move it, June 25th will be open. We just need to have a quorum of 4. Yeah.
As far as I know, I'm here too.
But I also want to be, considerate of our high school students who will be done with school, whether or not you will be in town or.
We'll be finished on June 2nd.
Yeah.
But
But do you have family trips or anything?
I might be gone because my birthday's the next day,
Yeah. Your birthday is June 26th?
June 26th, yeah.
It's my birthday. What are you doing with my
Whoa.
birthday?
I will be out of town though.
Okay, you will?
Yeah, on the 25th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be here.
So that means that if Chair Chen is here, then there would be a quorum of 4, could proceed with the meeting. If you were out of town and still wanted to participate in the meeting, you could participate from the public side. It'd be an excused absence, and then you could comment from the public's point of view, and not as a member of the committee, but you could certainly weigh in or participate if you wanted to stay connected to the Arts Committee wherever you are in the world.
Okay.
That certainly would be an option. If you wanted to participate remotely, there are some very specific requirements. Usually it's due to an illness or traveling with a state agency, state or county, city agency. So it wouldn't necessarily qualify for that specific ability to be able to attend virtually. However, yeah, you could still attend as a member of the public if you want to stay connected.
So, sorry, so if you were just on vacation, you couldn't participate?
Correct. You would need to have a specific exemption. I'd have to bring up it's a state law now that you can only attend virtually if you have an contagious disease or need to care for somebody with a contagious disease, or if you are traveling on behalf of a state or federal entity. Yeah.
You could be sick on vacation.
Yeah,
and-
yeah. So if you got sick on vacation, then you could. But otherwise, you can still attend the meeting as a member from the public virtually.
Okay.
Raise your hand during the public comment times and add your 2 cents, but not as a member of the committee. Correct. So you wouldn't be able to vote on anything.
It wouldn't be part of quorum.
Yeah, yeah. And it wouldn't quite count for a quorum. Yeah.
I'm okay either way with either moving the date or canceling it.
We shoot for the 25th.
Yeah, shoot for-
If Chair Chen can join, then great.
Yeah, because if you have it would mean that Chair Chen would have to be here in person for that meeting for it to proceed, because we know that we would have 2 absences on the 25th.
Right.
And then, okay, I think that makes. Any other questions on that?
For like an excused absence, do I just email you about? Okay.
Be fine, yeah. Okay, then the next subcommittee updates. Let me. Yeah.
All right. The gallery is going great. We're fully booked through this year. Li Ching had a very good show. She will be uninstalling soon, next week, the 24th. Ela will be installing on the 31st. We did have a question. This is for Joy. Ela wants to get in and kind of like figure out where her paintings are going to go, so she wants to know when the walls get done.
Yeah, that'd be a question for Joy, because that'll be scheduled. I think Public Works takes care of that in between the takedown of the artist, and then. So she wants to look at that with blank walls?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because
Good question. She could do it.
she could do it anytime, in open hours with a tape measure.
Yeah, other than that, Li Ching had a she would like to show again. So I don't know if she has already applied again. She plans to. Eugenie, I think, is going to apply as well. And Eva has several friends, so we're making connections here. I think we're going to be full for next year.
So, and if that's the case, the committee may want to look at a different cycle of artists in order to feature more. Something to consider. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly like this. I think there was a certain amount of catching up after the pandemic to like, yeah, okay, what do we do with the staffing, changeovers and, maybe it's a shorter period of time, which would require more work in terms of scheduling,
I think
or maybe
3
this.
months is a good amount of time for the amount of work it takes to get
Yeah.
hung and taken down. But certainly, these group shows we've been talking about.
Yeah. Well,
High schools, universities, Seen&Heard. I think we're covered.
okay, good.
Over to murals. I don't think we have anything more to add, just some of those outstanding things we want to work out from a timeline perspective so we can get things moving.
Right.
I do have some friends who are mural artists, so you want to send me the information?
I'll share that. Yeah.
Jeremy, I'll email you an updated version of the flyer, so you could send that along. You could send a link to the website. Both are great, I think.
Right, I can push them towards the website.
And also at if you look back at your email from the last notification for the April meeting, I included all of the flyers that the city had created. Those are all as attachments. If you need those again, just let me know. But you should have a couple different versions of web flyers that you could attach to an email.
It was in your latest e-news too, so.
Yeah, it's the same things.
I can find it.
Sculpture loan.
Not really any updates other
Yeah.
than the Jeff Downing sculpture being purchased. And then marketing being held off for the call for artists, possibly.
Yeah, we'll see. I should be able to get back with you and Emily specifically about that. I'm meeting with Isabel tomorrow. We'll
Okay.
talk about it and figure out a plan. But I think that likely we would just hold off a little bit until, kind of for the same reasons we're holding off on the Poet Laureate. Even though we can move forward with it, all of the pieces are there, it may make more sense to just put all of our efforts behind this in supporting the mural program, getting that. The foyer, I'm not terribly worried about the foyer gallery. There's going to be applications for that, but I really would like to see some effort put behind the murals program to get good submissions and a variety of submissions from which the committee can.
Can I ask how many applications you've gotten?
One. But several other inquiries, 3 or 4 people who have asked about it, some additional information, and then, but I can't really control whether or not they, go online and submit it. Yeah. Okay, the next, actually, let's just jump ahead. I have some information on the heron sculpture restoration. So, oh, do you too? All right. Well, all right, then let's just, I just assumed that there wasn't anything more to report on that. So let's go ahead and do Arts Committee marketing, and then we'll get to the.
I can. I sent you just now, asking you to share the spreadsheet. So we have a spreadsheet that has a lot of the contacts from different colleges around the Bay Area, different department leads, and then we also have different different artists that we know and different private organizations around the Bay Area that we could also contact. That Melanie put together, which is awesome. So yeah, I hope you guys can use it. Yeah.
Great, you guys, thanks.
I was curious with all these different organizations, do you guys have actual contacts with these people? Or is it just you went online and found them and?
Those were the emails that were on the websites of the colleges.
Okay.
So I would go to different colleges and look at their art department and the art department leads or assistants to the leads and just copy their emails down.
I think these are places that should be blasted with calls for mural artists and gallery artists.
So that's the thing.
What-
That's why I didn't include, like, for some of the art colleges, like College of Art, and the whole college is fully art-based. I didn't write down, you know, the president or the dean, because there's no way that really effectively reach them.
You know, a couple suggestions that I have, I think this is great, getting this started. One of the things that I would suggest is doing an email or a phone call on behalf of the Albany Arts Committee, even if it's from your own personal email address, introducing yourself, saying this is what we're doing, and would you mind if we add you to this? Or if there's a better email, I think that personal contact, I think in my experience, you know, reaching out, you may not get a response right away, but I think that they also might say, here are 10 other places where you could also go to. That type of legwork on behalf of the Albany Arts Committee would go a long way. And then you can continue to build out this particular list with some notes, maybe only email them on Tuesdays, or, you know, those sort of specifics for maintaining a group list. And then what we can do from the city's point of view is, after you've made some initial contact, we can develop our own email from the city. You don't have to worry about that. You're certainly welcome to share on behalf of the Albany Arts Committee and engage in communications with the outside world, like what we're talking about. But then I can create a larger list through some of our other means to send it out directly from the city. Especially if we know it's going to a particular person or going to the right place. And then the committee members could certainly follow up. Did you receive this? Is it in the right format? Can we offer you any other information? That sort of kind of legwork and follow-up would be really useful in terms of making sure that, you know, people end their email, right? Like, you know, it may or may not, you know, be seen. It may have gone to spam. Somebody may not have had the chance to really look at it, pass it on, forward it. But, you know, I guarantee you if somebody is calling and asking, hey, did you receive the thing that I sent you? It's really this great program that would be of interest to your students, faculty, membership, you know, community organization. I think that would be, that would be great.
We also, I think, have a draft or something that you guys wrote.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Harsh said earlier about creating like an email, like Albany Murals, and then emailing them. What
Yeah.
should we do that as well for each of these?
If you'd like to, I think different groups have done something similar in the past. But you're certainly welcome to use your own email, personal email, and just in your introduction saying you're an advisory body member of the Albany Arts Committee, and then provide a link. You can verify yourself by putting a link to the Arts Committee website or to the advisory body that shows your name listed on the city website. So, people are more confident that you're not a spammer or whatever. Or if you want to create a Gmail address specific to Albany Murals or something like that, and if you find that's an easier way to manage communications as you do outreach, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
tab?
It's like art studios, like galleries, and then we have like the personal contacts from people who have showcased at the foyer, and art centers as well. Yeah.
Yeah, if this spreadsheet could be maybe shared here as well.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, no, this is really great. Thank you so much.
I think it's a great idea to send personal emails. It really kind of connects.
Yeah. You know, and if you all need some, we can certainly call a special meeting, because a lot of the communications type work session work that needs to happen sometimes to collaborate, figure out a plan, that all needs to happen in a public meeting. But it would be very easy to set up a special meeting where it's only a work session for you to figure out, okay, who's going to email these people? Everybody takes 5, you're going to do this person, then you do the follow-up. That is something that the committee certainly could schedule, or you could talk about it during a meeting, make a plan, and then implement it all outside of a meeting. So that would be, you know, something to consider in terms of prepping the agenda for the next meeting, or if you want to call for a special meeting where it's just a work session to do a particular task.
Yeah, I think we can split it up like a subcommittee.
Yeah.
And just,
Yeah, I think this is great. Then,
I sent it.
yeah, you sent it to me, so I will distribute it. Since the only I'll just share it. I don't have even though I use Gmail and all the Google stuff in my personal life, I don't have any Google accounts associated with my city email address. So when people share Google content with me to my Albany address, sometimes I have difficulty opening it up and managing it. But looks like this is, you might need to change some of the permissions to make it so that everybody can look at it. Okay, all right, cool.
Anyone with the link?
perfect.
All right, then I'll forward it in.
You just forward the link over.
I'll forward the link and you guys can work on it yourselves. And I'll also, if, I've got some other things that I think I could pop in there as well.
Yeah, we can all add,
I think one of the things that you might want to do and consider in terms of organizing this is maybe color coding, adding like a section for notes, maybe some other details, so that as you reach out, just speaking from past experience in managing group lists, maybe even some dates of last contact, whether or not, because there will be times where, you know, you don't receive any replies. It's a dead email address. Certainly the website would also be useful information, even though usually you can kind of figure it out. It may be good to have all of that stuff there at the ready. In terms of creating what eventually will be perhaps even a more robust database. So I'll try and include some city and county content. I'll reach back out to the County Arts Organization and see if they would like to share any of their email lists that we could bring in here as well.
Be great. A few murals-related nonprofits as well, right? One that you had been in touch
Yeah.
with. You know if they might be interested in this?
yeah, I can add them to the list.
Yeah.
I told them already.
Yeah, look at that color coding.
They should be on the.
Making everything easy to read, that's perfect.
How did you just throw colors on there?
I did, yeah. It's just,
Yeah.
that one's a bad one.
You know, as we get through, if you had like, you know, header columns, you could, you know, organize it, you know, alphabetically, you know, go through. Those would be some handy things as you begin to compile things. Start off with a good system, then it's easy to add things in and then manage it.
the color groupings are from the same college, by the way.
Yeah, I think this is great, thank you.
Yeah, I would probably preface things with, if you send an email, probably in the subject line, go Albany Arts Committee.
Yep.
It's not just some random spammer.
Yep. Great, that's really good. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Apparently, Mark Canepa is Mark Canepa. Basically, he responded to my second email, giving me his phone number and asking me to leave him a voicemail.
Oh,
So I did, and then he texted me about an hour ago.
oh, wow, all right.
Yeah. So he says, yeah, we can talk. He has some ideas on how to preserve and maybe not so much restore in the future. He lives in Palm Springs right now. And thanks for reaching out. Let's get them back to their original luster.
Okay, all right, well, that's good to hear.
I will call with him at some point to just kind of see what he means by preserve and not restore.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we can just kind of keep going with the rest of it.
Yeah, just one of the, so I'm working with our small projects manager in Public Works, and at some point during the summer, we will do a reach out to some informal bid connections with contractors who work on metal rehabilitation. And we'll get some quotes to see what the numbers are looking like, 5-10 years later, whether or not it's a $5,000 project or a $20,000 project in terms of making it safe and preventing more damage from the elements. So, and then with that number, then the Arts Committee could decide what it wants to do. Yeah. So I would expect to have some information back to the committee by September or October. But now that Julian's going to be able to speak with the artist a little bit, maybe there'll be some other additional information to share before that. Oh, and it looks like we don't have any other members of the public here for public comment on subcommittee. So I assume that we don't need to do public comment since nobody else is here. Okay, that brings us to future agenda items.
One thing wondering about is just the murals project, and we just set up a deadline that is after the next committee meeting that we've scheduled for the 25th. I think, did we say the 27th?
27th, yeah.
So now I'm wondering, do we want to bring it in a week? And then we could actually,
Keep it on the 28th.
if we keep that deadline on the 20th, does that mean we could review
To
proposals?
May 20th or June 20th?
June 20th. Does that mean we could review proposals on?
I think so. Since this wasn't something that we voted on, I'll speak with Isabel about that, and then we'll make that change one way or the other. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And actually, that makes sense to extend that meeting. Is almost like you did it on purpose to be able to accommodate.
That's why you're going away, right?
Yeah.
That is why I'm going
Okay.
to London. Yeah.
All right. So.
So back to, okay, so I just sent you some flyers, Jeremy. Please disregard that email. I'm going to send you some
Yeah, okay.
updated flyers.
Got it.
Thank you.
Review application. So potentially review applications for the mural project if there will be some mural project if submitted
Have faith.
on June 20th.
Well, now that we have this big list of places, people we contact, maybe we get some more applications.
That would be great. Deirdre and I will reach out to them as soon as we get that spreadsheet. I've already created an Albany Murals Project Gmail, so, yeah.
Okay. I think that would take up probably the entire meeting if that were to happen. I probably want to keep, the only thing is we'll miss 2 of the other members of the committee who won't be here, though they may be able to join and remotely as a member of the public. It just depends on whether or not you want to wait until you have everybody here for the July meeting, which would be a couple weeks later. So something to consider if you want to make sure that everybody's able to. Because does anybody else have any other summer plans that would prevent them from attending the July meeting?
I may not, I think I might be traveling.
You may be out.
I think I may be out, yeah, I'll have to check my calendar.
I might not be for the, I need to check.
Okay. Yeah, and if you guys just send me an email back to let me know, because we also could look at a modification to the July meeting if it looks like people.
It's July 8th?
Think so, yeah.
I think I'll be here personally, yeah.
Because I think that would be Emily's last meeting, which would mean that I need to do a vote for, I don't think the automatic, promotion from, I think what we decided is the vice chair will not automatically move up to the chair position.
You already declined?
I think we heard some
And I think
interest from Julian.
However, if Julian is not here because he's traveling
Sure.
during
Yeah.
the summer, a couple of things that we'd want to know in advance, so, yeah. And also, as you talk with all of your friends about the open positions on the Arts Committee, there are 2 current, vacancies.
And how do people apply for those?
I can, so, on the City of Albany website. Well, they can apply, so,
I applied and then sponsored.
yeah.
Oh, all right.
So current vacancies are here. There's a site on our page on our site, vacancies and applications. So there's 1 on the Arts Committee. I don't know if this was. Yeah. Well, that's a new commission.
Oh, okay.
And then the school board appoints one member. So
Are people allowed to be on more than one advisory?
I don't think it's illegal, but I don't think it's something that in practice is realistic. But I would, do you know somebody who's on another board that would?
No, I'm just.
Yeah. I don't think so. I'm not aware of it, except in times of transition, when somebody's transitioning from one to the other. But there are 2 positions. One is through the school district. So with that, I think that takes care of our agenda items, unless anybody has any other questions. The next meeting is not going to be on Monday, June 10th. We'll be looking at Tuesday, June 25th, unless we don't have a quorum. All right, and with that, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, yeah.